What if I told you that every motivational poster, every success guru, and every parent who ever told you hard work pays off has been selling you the biggest lie in human history? What if the secret to true power, wealth, and influence isn't grinding 18-hour days, but rather the strategic laziness that separates kings from peasants? Niccolò Machiavelli, the master of political strategy who advised princes and toppled kingdoms with his pen, understood a truth so controversial that it's been buried under centuries of Protestant work ethic propaganda. The hardest workers are always the servants, never the masters. Today, we're going to shatter the mythology of hard work and reveal why the most successful people in history, from Machiavelli himself to modern tech billionaires, have mastered the art of strategic laziness. More importantly, I'm going to give you the exact blueprint to achieve this strategic laziness yourself. Prepare to have everything you thought you knew about success turned upside down. The glorification of hard work isn't some natural law of success. It's a carefully constructed social control mechanism. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince in 1513, he observed something profound about power dynamics. Those who work the hardest are precisely those with the least power to change their circumstances. Think about it. Who works harder? The CEO who plays golf 3 afternoons a week, or the factory worker pulling double shifts? Who sweats more? The hedge fund manager making millions from market movements, or the construction worker building his mansion? The answer reveals the uncomfortable truth that our society has inverted. We've been taught to worship the very behavior that keeps us powerless. Machiavelli understood that power flows to those who think strategically, not those who work mechanically. In The Prince, he writes about the importance of being both the lion and the fox, the lion for strength when necessary, but more importantly, the fox for cunning and strategic thinking. Notice he doesn't mention being the ox, the beast of burden that works tirelessly until it drops. Modern society has perfected what Machiavelli would recognize as the ultimate control mechanism, convincing people that being busy equals being valuable. We've created a culture where exhaustion is a badge of honor and rest is seen as laziness. But Machiavelli would laugh at this inversion of logic. In Renaissance Italy, Machiavelli observed that the most successful princes weren't those who personally led every charge or managed every detail of their kingdoms. Instead, they were the ones who understood leverage, how to make others work toward their vision, while they focused on strategy, relationships, and positioning. The trap of hard work is that it creates the illusion of progress while actually preventing real advancement. When you're caught in the hamster wheel of constant activity, you don't have time to step back and see the bigger picture. You don't have the mental space to identify opportunities, build strategic relationships, or develop the kind of insights that create real wealth and power. Machiavelli distinguished between two fundamental mindsets, the servant's mindset and the prince's perspective. The servant believes that value comes from effort. The harder you work, the more valuable you become. The prince understands that value comes from results and positioning. It's not about how much energy you expend, but about how strategically you expend it. Consider the difference between a master chess player and an amateur. The amateur might spend hours analyzing every possible move, working incredibly hard to calculate outcomes. The master, through pattern recognition and strategic understanding, sees the winning move in minutes. Who worked harder? The amateur. Who won? The master. This is the essence of Machiavellian thinking. Efficiency of thought and action trumps intensity of effort every time. Machiavelli himself embodied strategic laziness. Rather than seeking to become a prince through military conquest or political maneuvering, both incredibly labor-intensive paths, he chose to influence princes through ideas. His writings have shaped political thought for over 500 years, giving him more lasting power than most of the princes he advised. He understood that ideas are the ultimate leverage. One well-crafted concept can move mountains, while 1,000 hours of physical labor might not even move a pebble. Machiavelli was lazy in the sense that he refused to engage in the busy work of politics and instead focused on the strategic work of understanding and influencing human nature. The Medici family, whom Machiavelli both served and observed, perfected the art of strategic laziness. Rather than working in their banks, they owned the banks. Rather than creating art, they patronized artists. Rather than building with their own hands, they commissioned architects. They understood that true power comes from orchestrating the work of others, not from doing the work yourself. Lorenzo de' Medici, known as Lorenzo the Magnificent, spent his days in philosophical discussions, artistic patronage, and strategic relationship building. To the casual observer, he might have seemed lazy. He wasn't toiling in fields or workshops, but his laziness allowed him to see opportunities and make connections that created wealth and influence far beyond what any amount of manual labor could achieve. Today's most successful entrepreneurs follow the same principles. Jeff Bezos didn't become the world's richest man by working harder than Amazon's warehouse employees. He became wealthy by thinking strategically about market opportunities and building systems that leverage other people's work. Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful investors, famously spends most of his day reading and thinking. He's not frantically trading stocks or working 18-hour days. His laziness, his refusal to engage in the busy work that occupies most investors, allows him to see long-term opportunities that others miss. There's a psychological trap that keeps hard workers from achieving real success: the confusion between motion and progress. Hard workers often mistake activity for achievement, effort for effectiveness. They're so focused on the process that they lose sight of the outcome. Machiavelli understood that this psychological trap serves the interests of those in power. If you can convince people that their value lies in their effort rather than their results, you can keep them working for you indefinitely. They'll take pride in their exhaustion rather than questioning why their exhaustion isn't translating into advancement. The hard worker thinks, if I just work harder, I'll get ahead. The strategic thinker thinks, how can I create more value with less effort? This fundamental difference in mindset determines who ends up serving and who ends up being served. Now, let me give you the exact blueprint for achieving strategic laziness. These aren't just theoretical concepts. They're practical steps you can implement immediately to start thinking and acting like a Machiavellian prince rather than a hard-working servant. Master the art of strategic elimination. The first step to strategic laziness is learning what not to do. Machiavelli understood that the prince's power comes not from doing everything, but from doing only what matters most. Start by conducting a brutal audit of your current activities. List everything you do in a typical week, then categorize each activity into one of 4 quadrants: high impact and high leverage, high impact but low leverage, low impact but high leverage, and low impact and low leverage. Your goal is to eliminate everything in the low-impact categories, regardless of how busy they make you feel. This might mean saying no to meetings that don't directly advance your goals, delegating tasks that others can do adequately, or simply stopping activities that provide no real value. Remember, every minute you spend on low-leverage activities is a minute you're not spending on strategic thinking. The Medici family became powerful not because they did everything themselves, but because they ruthlessly focused on what only they could do, making strategic decisions, building key relationships, and identifying opportunities. They eliminated the busy work and focused on the leverage work. Develop your information advantage. Machiavelli spent countless hours studying history, human nature, and political dynamics. This wasn't busy work, it was strategic intelligence gathering. In today's world, your information advantage comes from understanding trends, patterns, and opportunities that others miss. But here's the key. You don't need to consume all information, just the right information. Identify the 3 to 5 sources that give you the deepest insights into your field and ignore everything else. Warren Buffett reads voraciously, but he's extremely selective about what he reads. He focuses on annual reports, industry analyses, and economic trends, information that gives him a strategic advantage. Create a daily information diet that includes industry reports, competitor analysis, customer feedback, and trend forecasting. But set strict limits. Spend no more than 1 hour per day on information consumption, and make sure every piece of information you consume has the potential to inform a strategic decision. Build your strategic network. Machiavelli understood that relationships are the ultimate leverage. One strategic relationship can be worth more than years of individual effort. But building a strategic network isn't about collecting business cards or adding LinkedIn connections. It's about identifying and cultivating relationships with people who can provide mutual value. Start by mapping your strategic landscape. Who are the key decision makers in your industry? Who are the rising stars? Who are the connectors who know everyone? Who are the experts who understand trends before they become obvious? These are the people you want in your network. But remember, strategic networking isn't about taking, it's about providing value first. Identify how you can help these key people achieve their goals, then reach out with genuine offers of assistance. The Medici family became powerful by patronizing artists and thinkers, creating a network of talented people who were invested in their success. Create systems that work without you. The ultimate expression of strategic laziness is building systems that generate value while you sleep. Machiavelli advised princes to create institutions and processes that would maintain their power even in their absence. In the modern world, this means building businesses, investments, and income streams that don't require your constant attention. Start by identifying repetitive tasks in your work or business that could be systematized. Can you create templates, checklists, or processes that allow others to handle these tasks? Can you build automated systems that handle routine decisions? Can you create products or services that generate ongoing revenue without ongoing effort? Jeff Bezos built Amazon into a system that processes millions of transactions without his direct involvement. The system he created generates wealth while he focuses on strategic decisions and new opportunities. This is the essence of strategic laziness, building leverage that works for you rather than working for others. Practice strategic patience. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the importance of timing. The strategic lazy person understands that acting too quickly is often worse than not acting at all. While others are frantically busy, you're patiently waiting for the right opportunity to make your move. This requires developing what I call strategic patience, the ability to resist the urge to stay busy and instead wait for high-leverage opportunities. Warren Buffett is famous for this approach. He might go years without making a major investment, but when he sees the right opportunity, he acts decisively. Create a decision-making framework that helps you distinguish between urgent and important. Urgent tasks demand immediate attention but often provide little long-term value. Important tasks might not seem pressing, but they create significant long-term leverage. The strategic lazy person focuses on important tasks and delegates or eliminates urgent ones. Leverage. Other people's time and energy. Machiavelli observed that successful princes surround themselves with capable people and delegate effectively. This isn't laziness in the pejorative sense, it's strategic resource allocation. Your unique value lies in thinking and decision-making, not in executing every task yourself. Start by identifying tasks that others can do adequately, even if they can't do them as well as you can. The goal isn't perfection, it's leverage. If someone else can do a task 80% as well as you can, but it frees you up to focus on tasks that only you can do, that's a strategic win. This might mean hiring virtual assistants, outsourcing routine tasks, or building a team of specialists who can handle different aspects of your work. The key is to focus your personal time and energy on the activities that provide the highest leverage: strategy, relationship building, and decision making. Develop pattern recognition. Machiavelli's strategic advantage came from his ability to see patterns in human behavior and political dynamics. He could predict how people would react in certain situations because he understood the underlying patterns that drive human behavior. In your field, pattern recognition means understanding the cycles, trends, and dynamics that others miss. This comes from deep study and careful observation over time. Start by studying the history of your industry. What patterns emerge? What cycles repeat? What trends can you identify? Then apply this pattern recognition to current situations. When you see a familiar pattern emerging, you can position yourself to take advantage of it, while others are still trying to figure out what's happening. This is how strategic, lazy people seem to have perfect timing. They're not lucky, they're prepared. Focus on outcomes, not activities. The hard work myth teaches us to measure success by effort. How many hours we worked, how busy we were, how much we struggled. Strategic laziness measures success by outcomes: what results we achieved, what value we created, what progress we made toward our goals. Start tracking your activities not by time spent, but by results achieved. Instead of measuring how many hours you worked, measure how much revenue you generated, how many strategic relationships you built, or how much closer you moved toward your long-term goals. This shift in measurement will naturally guide you toward higher leverage activities. When you're focused on outcomes rather than activities, you'll naturally gravitate toward the work that produces the best results with the least effort. Create intellectual property. Machiavelli's greatest strategic move was creating intellectual property, ideas and insights that continued to generate influence long after he wrote them. In the modern world, intellectual property is one of the most powerful forms of leverage available. This might mean writing books or articles that establish your expertise, creating courses or training programs that can be sold repeatedly, developing proprietary methods or systems that give you a competitive advantage, or building a personal brand that opens doors and creates opportunities. The key is to create assets that work for you over time. A book you write once can generate income and opportunities for decades. A system you develop can be licensed or franchised to others. A personal brand can create opportunities that would be impossible to achieve through hard work alone. Master the art of strategic saying no. Perhaps the most important skill for achieving strategic laziness is learning to say no to opportunities that don't align with your strategic goals. Every yes to a low-leverage opportunity is a no to a high-leverage one. Develop clear criteria for evaluating opportunities. Does this opportunity align with your long-term goals? Does it provide significant leverage? Does it build on your existing strengths and advantages? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then the answer to the opportunity should be no as well. This is perhaps the hardest part of strategic laziness, because it requires turning down opportunities that might seem attractive in the short term. But Machiavelli understood that the prince who tries to pursue every opportunity will achieve nothing of significance. The truth that Machiavelli understood, and that our society desperately tries to hide, is that success comes from strategic thinking, not hard work. The most successful people in history have been those who learned to work smarter, not harder, who focused on leverage rather than effort, who understood that being busy is not the same as being effective. This doesn't mean being actually lazy in the sense of avoiding all work. It means being strategically selective about the work you do. It means focusing on high-leverage activities that create disproportionate results. It means having the discipline to say no to busy work so you can say yes to strategic work. The hard work myth is one of the most effective tools of social control ever created. It keeps people focused on effort rather than results, on activity rather than achievement, on serving rather than leading. Breaking free from this myth is the first step toward real success. Machiavelli's princes didn't become powerful by working harder than their subjects. They became powerful by thinking more strategically, by understanding leverage, by focusing on what really mattered rather than what seemed urgent. In a world obsessed with hustle culture and grinding, the person who embraces strategic laziness, who refuses to confuse motion with progress, who focuses on thinking rather than doing, who understands that true power comes from leverage rather than effort, will have an almost unfair advantage. The choice is yours. You can continue to believe the lie that hard work alone leads to success, or you can embrace the uncomfortable truth that Machiavelli understood 5 centuries ago. The lazy win not because they avoid work, but because they understand that the right kind of thinking is worth more than any amount of the wrong kind of working. The revolution starts with a single realization. You've been taught to be a servant when you could choose to think like a prince. The question is, are you ready to embrace your strategic laziness and claim the success that's been waiting for you? Remember, in the game of power and success, it's not the hardest worker who wins. It's the smartest strategist. And the smartest strategy often looks suspiciously like laziness to those who don't understand the game. Welcome to your Machiavellian awakening. The world of strategic success awaits, and now you have the exact blueprint to claim it.